Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. Tonight's topic is Love the Thought Fairground. This one written by our friend Glenn from Australia. So you have a lot to look forward to for sure. I mean, I like anyone, including myself, that does a write up, but you get a certain promise of cohesive writing and thought provoking questions on this one. So yeah, I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am. Before we get into everything, I will introduce the panel for those listening the first time, as we always do. And believe it or not, we continuously get one or two new listeners, which is wonderful. Thank you guys, the two of you. Sometimes more. But my name is Jason. I'm the host of the broadcast, and with me is an amazing panel of people that care enough to spend their Sunday with us for 2 hours, which I always appreciate. Starting with the writer of tonight's write-up from Australia, Glenn. Glenn, take a minute to say hello to the peoples, please.
What people?
Yeah. What people? The people.
to the nebulous
Right.
listeners who may or may not be in the ether.
That's right. Hello. Hello. Yeah, sometimes it starts out a little slow when we kick it up, but I mean, people listen, after the fact. So I'm saying hello to them. Hello, people listening after the fact.
That's it.
Yep. Thank you, Glenn. Also, we'll introduce Marisa from the Nez Lover channel, and she's not limited to a YouTube channel. She's a Renaissance woman, knows the theme song to Welcome Back, Kotter, among other things. Marisa, say hello to the peoples, please.
Hello to the peoples, whether you are lurking or just being quiet or catching that replay. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us one way or another here on True Story Live on Sunday. Yes, we've got another wonderful write-up from our dear friend Glenn, and I'm looking forward to getting, what's the word? Hip deep, and my hips hurting because I fell down the stairs the other day.
Oh no! Goodness, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I landed on my sciatic spot.
Oh.
Right on the same side. Oh man. It was like falling on the ice. And it was because I was wearing the pants that are now too big because I've lost some weight. I'm like, oh, these are comfy. I'm going to wear them to bed. So I went upstairs thinking I'm going to check on my daughter, checked on her. She was fine. Halfway down, I slip, I trip, boom, boom, boom. Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh,
it was,
wow. That's rough.
It was, yeah. But,
I'm glad you're okay.
It wasn't anything, traumatic, where I had to go to the hospital or anything, but still, yow. So
yeah.
How many stairs? Do you live in a townhouse?
Yeah, I got a town apartment, so I had to go upstairs, check on her. Halfway down the steps, I'm happy. I'm like, she's good, sleeping peacefully, and then whoop, boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
Oh no.
All right.
So, well, but hey, we're all right. We're okay.
Good.
But looking forward to another great discussion tonight. Glad to see everybody. And yeah, I believe we'll have a few more people coming in as the evening progresses.
Sure.
If you come in and you know me and I know you and I'm used to sharing your link, I'll continue to do that. If you would like your link shared, I'll be happy to do so. If you decide you don't want your link shared, please let us know and we will respect your wishes. That being said, I'm ready to jump right in.
All right. Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that. And last but certainly not least, my amazing wife, Jennifer. Say hello to the peoples, please.
Hello, peoples. Glad to be here. Looking forward to the write-up and the questions and the discussion. Good stuff.
Good stuff.
If I fall asleep in the middle of the show and y'all hear snoring, I am so sorry. Not because of you guys. I'm just really tired.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
no reflection on the topic at hand.
No.
Why are you tired, Jen? What have you been doing?
That's a whole other conversation. I'm just emotionally tired.
Yeah.
Wrecking my body.
Yeah. It was a long week. I I filled in for a teammate on Monday, which is usually my day off. So I had last week, I only had Sunday off. Normally I have Sunday and Monday. And then she worked my Saturday, and Friday night after that, a work week, I was just done. I mean, it was a rare occasion where I can't put thoughts together, but that's the way it felt. And yeah, slept and still hanging on a little bit, but we'll get through it. And have tomorrow off, back on the normal schedule. Oh, also, for those interested, I did apply for a specialist position at my job, and the interview went very well. That was on Tuesday. And there are 12 people applying. 6 are from internal that already work with Sunbelt. The other 6 from outside. I'm not worried about those folks. So I don't know how long it's going to take for them to make a decision, but it won't be because the interview sucked. Just seemed like it went really well. So
Yeah.
if you're a praying person, please throw that up to the big guy upstairs. And if it's an open door or not, I'm putting myself out there, which that's all I can do. So yeah, thanks for that. All right. Jen, there's not very many people in the chat, but you want to say
Christ
hello?
is the truth just popped in. Woohoo! Hey, buddy.
Yeah. There you go.
He said, "Hey guys, how are you? We are good. Glad to be here, and glad you're here." And
Oh.
John Robs.
John
Oops,
Robb.
dyslexia.
John Robb.
Rob
There you go.
Johns.
There you go.
Hey, John.
Yeah. And we'll say hello to anyone else that pops in the chat when we see them, and we'll dive right in. This one is Love the Thought, Fairground. Most of us are aware of what it means to behave in a loving or unloving manner towards another. We also know that the expression of love comes in via both words and actions. This evening, we shall look at 10 characteristics of a loving person and try to identify whether we possess such qualities and self-critique when we have not been so loving in our thoughts and actions. Following on, we shall look at the reasons why these wonderful traits may not be in themselves be enough for someone to, quote, love the thought of coming home to you, end quote. With that in mind, tonight's song is Fairground by Simply Red. There's a great synopsis of this song via the link, which is in the description. The links below are a live performance and lyrics, also in the description. Let's get started. See if you agree with and see yourself within the 10 traits from the website. That link is also trueidentity.com. So definitely take a look at that. But Glenn has graced us with the 10 things to discuss tonight. Number 1, admiring. The loving person naturally admires the beauty, talent, and inspiring traits of the people and things around them. 2, empathetic. To be loving opens the doors of empathy, to share in the emotions and understand what another person is feeling. 3, generous. Loving people prefer to be generous with their time and money because their reward is to feel the happiness and gratitude felt by others. 4, grateful. The loving person is grateful for what they have and what they receive because often their loving nature is reciprocated by those who receive it. 5, kind. Loving people tend to be friendly, considerate, and affectionate. And typically, there are not so many restrictions to showing it. Oftentimes, they will go out of their way to share their kindness with others. 6, nurturing. A loving person is often a natural caregiver who offers support, encouragement, and protection, all done in the name of love. 7, patient. Sometimes to be loving means one must accept delays and issues without becoming upset, annoyed, or anxious. 8, positive. The loving person provides compliments, adoration, affection, encouragement, optimism, constructive feedback, and a good old pick-me-up when needed. May even throw in a handshake, a pat on the shoulder, or a hug for good measure. Number 9, thoughtful. Not only are loving people kind and generous, but they're also thoughtful in considering the needs of others and are often sympathetic to one's troubles and struggles. Number 10, trusting. A loving person typically has strong trust in others because they see the best in people. They are not suspicious. They do not hold grudges or carry resentment because that interferes with their loving ways. Those are the 10 things. Okay, now we come to the thinking part. Imagine you have this wonderful person in front of you with all these qualities listed, plus a value system based on integrity, honesty, morals, fair mindedness, etc. They are available, are similar age, have aligned belief systems, and yet something seems to be missing in your quote, love the thought attraction to them. Here are some examples. Can you relate? Timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? Seems too good to be true. Why do I think like that? Their looks don't appeal to me. Why might that be? Not my type in other respects. What might that mean? Something intuitively feels wrong. How might one resolve this to try and understand why? Relationship type does not line up. Do you say no if one wants casual, the other long term? I'm a homebody. They are a party person. Is there room for compromise? They have a poor relationship with family, etc. Do I read as an ominous sign? There are so many others. I'm sure you will be forthcoming, maybe. There is one more discussion question. Often when relationships are on the rocks, we hear words, quote, I don't love you anymore, end quote. I have no idea what that means. It seems like a communication cop-out. I wonder if the word love did not exist, would the phrase be more on point with the words, quote, I don't like you anymore? In closing, regardless of the words used, at the end of the day, if you don't admire someone, it's difficult to imagine having a constructive connection with them. The key to all this comes back to you and your willingness to be real. And I'll read this again at the end, but there's a quote, it is difficult to tune into the wavelength of the surrounding environment if one is not projecting that which comes naturally from inside themselves. Wayne Hadley is the one with that quote. All right, fantastic. All right, so let's dig right in. I like these 10 things. Admiring, empathetic, generous, grateful, kind, nurturing, patient, positive, thoughtful, and trusting. And if anyone wants to hear the definitions that were given again, I'll be more than happy to go over those. So here are some examples. Can you relate? First one that we're talking about tonight is timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? I'll read the paragraph above it again. Okay, now we come to the thinking part. Imagine you have this wonderful person in front of you with all those qualities listed, plus a value system based on integrity, honesty, morals, fair-mindedness, etc. They are available, are similar age, have aligned belief systems, and yet something seems to be missing in your love the thought attraction to them.
Chris,
Timing.
sorry.
Yep.
Sorry. I
Sure.
think we need to just maybe self-critique the 10 because otherwise we're not going to go 2 hours. That was how I put it. I put it down just to. I'm really looking for more. We know what these 10 are, but examples of when we're not really like that is really good, I think, and beneficial. Like
Sure.
declaring oneself.
Mm-hmm.
I know I've got plenty to say. Oh no, not that much.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. So we can. Would you like to go over the 10 and just kind of talk about when we haven't felt that way?
Yeah, I think if we can take it'll take a little while, but not that long that we can't sort of really expand on the second part.
Sure. Gotcha. Good idea. All right. So let's do number 1 then. So the first on the list is admiring. The loving person naturally admires the beauty, talent, and inspiring traits of the people and the people and the things around them. Does anyone want to take a stab at this? Have you ever felt like you weren't in this place of admiring other people?
You bet.
Tell us about it, Glenn.
Well, when I look back at all of my let's call it my worst behaviour,
Uh-huh.
it I really deviated from what the real person I was. You know, how sometimes you just get into a wrong pattern, or you get in with people who aren't, and you feel embarrassed to be yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, let's just use an example, like, you know how you can get a group of people and they're putting other people down, and you just don't feel like you want to say things. This is a younger thing, and you become embarrassed to really show that you are actually, it's sort of almost in some respects frowned upon that you are a good person. It's like
Yeah.
you've almost got to prove yourself to be the opposite in younger circumstances.
Sure.
So yeah, I think until you, but I think what tends to happen generally is that as you get older, there's a fair chance that you're going to regress away from the stuff that you were doing that was garbage, and come back to the person you really are, and then you have a great deal of comfort from that. So in terms of admiring, no, I certainly didn't do it. I just used to think most people were idiots, and I really wasn't that interested in
Sure.
in their talents or what underpinned them.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I've come to realise that, hey, that's pretty important, as I said right at the end of the write-up. If you can't, how do you have a relationship of substance if you don't actually admire the person for who and what they are?
I'm not sure you can, but yet, one of the things you mentioned is, you think it's more of a young person thing, and maybe that's true for the most part. But you see these people that are married two, three, four times. Is it that they don't get this or they don't feel this? I mean, people get married for different reasons, but how often do they admire the person they're with? And not even just marriage, or just relationships in general. And we're not limiting it just to marriage, but do you admire the person that you're dating? Speaking personally for me, I didn't date a whole lot, but I definitely know that when I was younger, I went out with people that I didn't necessarily admire. There were other characteristics at that time that I might have appreciated more. I mean, I don't think I ever dated anyone that I, despised or anything like that. It's not to that level, but I'm trying to apply this to past relationships. Did I admire them? I mean, going up all the way up until my first marriage, I don't think I admired my first wife. By the example, loving person naturally admires the beauty, talent, and inspiring traits of the people and things around them. I admit that first marriage, I felt more like a rescuer than a husband in some ways, and set out to help fix her. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that has that story. And then found out pretty quickly that I wasn't going to be able to fix anything. And then once I discovered that, and there wasn't a whole lot of reciprocal appreciation or admiration of me, certainly not. We were dead in the water. It was just a matter of time, and it just was who's going to pull the cord first, and it was her. Which, as I've said many times, I'm grateful for now. But back then, I wasn't so super grateful. That's number 4, grateful. Wasn't grateful there. Um, certainly am now, but we'll get to that when we come to it. But yeah, thinking about the few people that I did date, there were some I think I admired, but because of my self-esteem, I couldn't have been with someone that admiration was the highest thing on my list. So I'll leave it there and fill it in more later. But Jen, what do you think? The loving person naturally admires the beauty, talent, and inspiring traits of the people and things around them. How do you feel about admiration for people that you've been with?
Are we doing the opposite?
Yeah, that's what
Do
Talking
Glenn.
whatever
about
you
what?
want, Jen. Yeah,
Okay.
just do what you feel is comes naturally.
Yeah. I feel like I always try to find things and people to admire.
Sure.
Um, and even people that are mean or unfortunate in their attitudes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and when this says the things around them, the people and the things around them, gosh, nature is a big one for me. Anything to do with outdoors, the sunrise, the sunset, the moon, the stars, when it rains, when it's cold, when there's no leaves on the trees, when spring's hitting. I mean, it's just all of it's I like to admire it very, very much. And I think when it comes to people, the complexity of people, really, for me, I admire that. Even when someone might be bad or, uh, all the facets that go into that, I think sometimes I admire just the complexities of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but definitely, people that love unabashedly and help others. And um, gosh, when I meet somebody that is very authentic and that
Mm-hmm.
you can tell from the energy coming off of them that they're just unapologetically being themselves without
Yeah.
any facades or masks, that is something I very much admire,
Yeah.
because it's so contagious. I think the flip side could be contagious too.
Sure.
the play acting and the masks and stuff, but
Sure.
I don't admire that as much. When you can tell someone's just being them, they're
Yeah.
just being. I just really, really admire that.
Yeah.
Very much
Good.
so.
Yeah. I find it interesting that, at least for me, being myself or being authentic has become so natural. It's not even something I have to think about at all. I don't have to think
Yeah.
to myself, hey, I need to remember to be authentic. Um, where, in my late teens, early 20s, probably wasn't as well, not probably, I wasn't in the same place back then. I think many times I represented myself, in characteristics that weren't really me. Whether it's listening
Yeah.
to certain types of music because it's what the person that I am interested in likes, or saying I like certain things when I didn't. I didn't do it a whole lot, but certainly more than I do now. I think if you're at all not being authentic, then that's enough. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be a little bit, and still you're not you're not being honest and straightforward. So I
Yeah.
don't want any part of that. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
What about you, Marisa? Admiring. The loving person naturally admires the beauty, talent, and inspiring traits of the people and things around them. Where do you stand on that? You can answer any way you like.
Well, my first thought is yes, I think it's a natural response to to look up to and really care about somebody that is doing things or has their life in a place that you admire, that you would maybe like to see yourself do, whether it's vocational or a career or volunteer work, family, whatever. There's something going on with this person that it could be charisma, it could be their generosity. There's something that you see in somebody that it draws you in, and
Mhm.
uh, and with people who are narcissists, that can be a lure in to bring people into their
Mhm.
web, their trap. But that being said, I think it's natural to care more about people uh, that resonate with you, that show you something that you wish you could be, or maybe a potential you have and you could reach if you dedicated more time to it, like something you study more or
Sure.
work towards, like a mentor, maybe
Yeah.
is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, times that I'm trying to turn this inside out, like let's go the other way.
Yeah.
Um, has there been so the opposite of that would be essentially, have there been times that I have loved somebody that I did not have respect for or did not admire? Is that what the mirror opposite question of this is?
Yeah, I would think that if you're with someone that you don't admire,
Oh, certainly. Chapter something something of my memoirs. Loving the assholes.
Yeah,
Loving the assholes. I've loved so many assholes in my life. Oh boy. Oh, we could do a separate
I'm getting
book.
water. I'm having a hard time not laughing.
We could do a whole separate book just about the assholes. Oh my God. But I think us empathic people, I think us people who are wanting to help, wanting to nurture, wanting to demonstrate these positive qualities. I think sometimes we take pity, or we think we can change something about someone that we care about. Maybe we fantasize, or we think, I can change them if only I do this for them. That's kind of where my mind is taking this.
Sure.
And I think that's where a lot of people end up going into relationships with toxic people, narcissists or otherwise. You think in your own sense of goodness and caring about this person in a genuine way, I think you believe that you can do something to make this person think differently, feel differently, act differently than the toxic ways and things that they do presently when you're with them. I certainly have fallen into that trap, and nobody's going to be able to change them but God Almighty, and if that person wants to change. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't know that. You think, oh, I'm super empath. If I just love them enough, they're going to change and not be an asshole anymore. Well, it doesn't really work that way. How does it?
Nope.
No. So there you go.
Thank you.
It wasn't for a lack of trying, right, Nez?
Right.
I gave it the old college try.
Oh, that's true enough. Yes.
Yeah. Dude, I have like 5 doctorates.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
Oh,
say hello to Bobby Meyer, and also Celine popped in while we were talking.
Hey, Bobby.
Welcome to both of you.
Hey, Celine.
I'm not going to take a whole lot of time to comment on this, but our friend Christ is the Truth made a comment scrolling up to the top. Let's see. Just a moment. How are you guys? That wasn't it. Really love. Okay, so here it is.
That in there.
No, that's good. Christ is the Truth says, I really hope the rapture happens soon. I'm so tired of being here. Best way to convert people is through love. Well, that's 2 separate thoughts. But and then he goes on to say, this place is not my home. And I certainly understand that. It's interesting. I heard a broadcast the other day on this very topic, and it certainly wasn't it was a former self-said or self-called former Christian who was talking about some of the issues that he found within Christianity. And this was a point that he brought up. He was theorizing, talking about this thing that within Christianity, instead of embracing the life God gave us here on this earth, many of them are looking forward to what comes next rather than making the best of the time that they have here. And frankly, I agree with that. I mean, I think it's fine, in my opinion, it's fine to look forward to the future, look forward to, the new heaven, new earth, and there's no death. And I mean, why wouldn't someone look forward to that if they were a believer? Certainly, it is something to look forward to. But I think he had a point that we're so focused on things being better that we're not doing the best. I'm not saying you personally, Truth, but just in general, people are not doing the best they can while they're here. And I think, biblically speaking, that's not what we're supposed to do. In fact, if you go to the Old Testament, whether you believe it's Yahweh or the Father or Jesus, either way, they were in exile a lot because they kept screwing up, and God kept putting them in exile, and he gave them instructions. While you're in exile, build homes, plant vineyards, have children. Don't just wait till you're out of exile. So you could look at it like that you're in exile from your perspective. Make the best of it. Do everything you can do while you're here. If every believer did that instead of just waiting for the end, I think the world would be a better place. So take that for what you want. Does anyone else want to comment on that before we move forward?
I'll just say that there is a part of me that understands what
Sure.
truth is saying, because I think for people that do digging into like what's behind the curtain of like normal everyday life, what's really going on in this world, it is very depressing and saddening and scary. And I have my days where I'm like, okay, can I pass the baton? I'm ready for heaven. Somebody tap me out.
Yeah.
So I vacillate between the two, where I'm like, okay, good grief. And then other days I'm just like, I'm so grateful to be here and to have this experience and this gift of life.
Sure.
So I get it. I get, where Christ is coming, truth is coming from. Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Christ, buddy. But yeah, just going to add that.
Yeah. Just to be clear, I do understand. I do. I'm just making a point from what someone else said and from my own observations. If you did the best you could with the time while you're here, and if all of us did that, the world theoretically would be a better place if we enjoyed as much as we can the time that we have been given, the life that God's given us. If we're a believer, if you're a believer, you believe this gift of life is from God. It's not evolution, it's not random collision of molecules, etc. So if you do believe that, then it seems like the whole of the Bible is about being loving, and I just think making the best of this world and trying to follow what Jesus said, and being loving, and being light, being salt, all the things I say all the time. I'm not the one that came up with them. It's just noticing what Christianity tells us, and the focus. I mean, gosh, I understand why he or anyone else would be in this place, because honestly, sometimes the way things are going, it just, like you said, Jen, to tap me out. It's rough. It's rough. And it seems like each generation, the older people get, they're like, oh my gosh, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. And then the next generation, you get older and you see what's happening with young people, and you say the same thing. There's nothing new here.
Yeah.
And if you believe Solomon and Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. These things have happened before, and they'll happen again. It's
cyclical.
It's cyclical. It's on the wheel. It's all on the wheel, and the wheel just keeps spinning round and round and round. So, I'm just going to try to make the best of it. Doesn't mean I'm not looking forward to the perfect world. I don't know. I just feel like I wish everyone could do that. Everyone could focus on it. Yes, I understand wanting for a lot of the stuff that's going on to be done. Certainly for me, even the leadership, the whole government leadership thing, they all just seem like assholes to me. It used to be when I was a kid, there were a few politicians that would come out and they would have a different view of things, and they, grassroots effort and all that.
Yeah.
But in a two-party system, they don't get very far, unfortunately. Needs to be plenty of change. But anyway, anyone else want to comment on that before we move forward?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought Celine came up with a brilliant comment, and I'm just trying to find it. She said, I think we're supposed to embrace life and see God in the storm. I think that's right on.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
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 See, because I want to say Christ is the truth. Like, it's sometimes difficult to see that we've been given an opportunity that a lot of people don't get. But I want to remind you that your life can change in an instant.
Yeah.
It really can, and I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. It's happened to my wife. It's
Yeah.
happened to others that I know. And sometimes when things don't look so good, something just comes along, and maybe you could say it's sent from God or a new direction from God. But I think losing hope is just one of the worst things
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you can have to endure. So I think a lot of this is about an attitude and a mindset. And I think if just embracing the fact that you're not in the cancer ward, and
Right.
how privileged any of us are, or most of us are,
Yeah.
compared with others, it's just, it can help.
Right.
Because if God's given you this gift, an opportunity, why would you want to throw it away?
Yeah.
It's just a thought. Anyway,
Preach it.
that's where I'm coming
Preach it,
from.
Brother Glenn.
Good point. Good point. All right. We'll continue. Number 2, empathetic. To be loving opens the doors of empathy, to share in the emotions and understand what another person is feeling. I love this one.
Yeah. Same.
I can definitely say that for the most part, I would say the first 30 years of my life, I was fairly empathetic. And in relationships, I did the few that I had, I did care about the other person. I did care what they went through. I've never been able to change that. And I've shared before that after my divorce, it's not that empathy left me. I don't think you can just stop being empathetic if that's in you to do. But I didn't focus on what other people needed as much. Now I say that, and my mom dies, and I take care of my grandma. So obviously I wasn't 100% devoid of that. But in relationships, if I had met someone within that 7-8 year period between my divorce and meeting Jen, if I hadn't had the proper attitude, I don't know if it would have worked. Just the place I was in, I don't think it would have. I mean, it was like catching lightning in a bottle, as far as I'm concerned. Meeting Jen and things working out the way they have. That's the way I see it. So I would say that for the most part, in viewing myself, I have been empathetic more than not, but there's a little shame in me that I was ever in a place, because of my own pain and my own grief, that I would ever not be empathetic towards other people.
Yeah.
Even a little angry, even seeing people post on Facebook, or at least the illusion of a great marriage, or, oh, here's my new boyfriend. Oh, I just got engaged, all this stuff. And it made me angry. It did. And I didn't spend a whole lot of time there, but yeah, it was an example to me of how petty I can be in that wounded place. And
Yeah.
fortunately, it's not a place that I live in, but it showed me how capable I was of being petty and being envious and all those darker emotions that I don't want to have any part of me. So all that to say that I think it's wonderful to be empathetic, and it is something to celebrate. And I can celebrate it now, but I wouldn't lie and say that I've always been operating out of that empathy. That is one of these 10 things mentioned.
Yeah.
Anyone want to take it?
I'll go.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I feel like I've always been pretty empathetic to the point where it's put me in some dangerous situations. And it's so funny. I thought of this memory while you were talking, and I was thinking about what my answer would be. I remember being a kid. You guys remember the movie The Sword and the Stone?
Sure.
The animated movie? And
Yeah.
when the little guy, I can't remember what his name is, the main character, the boy, Merlin turns him into there you go. They get turned into squirrels. And that one, the really pretty squirrel fell in love with them. And then he had to turn back into a boy. And she she climbs to the top of the tree and she's crying. And I remember I ran to my room and I just bawled my eyes out.
Oh.
Like these little characters were actually real. And I was so upset.
You're still like that.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I've learned to curb it, not in the sense of turning it off, but I don't even know how I would explain that. I don't know. I don't know how to explain how I've curbed it per se, because I haven't shut it off or like lessened it. I'm just more careful. But yeah, I think having empathy is one of the biggest gifts. To be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel some of their pain, I think is just one of the most beautiful things that we experience as people. I don't think it's something that animals can feel. I think our species being human, I think it's just such a gift that we're able to do that. And it is very sad when you notice that other people don't have it or they don't exercise it or show it. Like, I think everybody has the ability to be empathic and to exercise that. And some people, they go through things and things happen and they turn it off or it gets worn out or, who knows what. But it's very, very much a gift. It can really stick you sometimes, but I would rather have it and get, hurt than not have it at all.
Right.
So
sure.
That's my answer.
No, I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
I'm for Bobby. Bobby said she missed the first the couple questions, so I had to do second part to the second question, but I put those in there so you can see what questions we're talking about. We're on number 2, empathetic, right now. That should get you caught up. Okay. Marisa, would you like to take empathetic? How do you feel about that word?
I think it's very important to have empathy, especially if you are trying to convey being loving. You are going to naturally, if you have empathy and compassion, you're going to naturally have an interest in how that other person is feeling or doing, and it shouldn't even be a concentrated effort. It should just happen.
Sure.
You're naturally, when you have those gifts, it's just going to be part of who you are to stop and say, "Hey, how you doing?" Or, "Hey, I'm sorry it's taken me so long." That's what I end up doing. I take too long, I think, and then I have to catch up. But at least I'm trying to catch up if it's been a while.
Sure.
I'm trying to be better at that. So I would say overall, I do very much care. I'm just not so good at keeping up with everyone and everything that I care about in ways that I feel that I should, in the ways that Scripture tells me I should. I need to make sure that I really take the time for what's important.
Yeah.
And even like when you look at things like YouTube, it's I've done a lot of fun things and good things on YouTube, but in the end, who cares about YouTube? I want to check in on the good people that I've met through YouTube.
As a tool.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're very good at that, by the way, Nez. It's one of your gifts, and I think it's beautiful.
I would agree. Yeah,
you're gonna get me verklempt and make me start crying.
Oh no,
we're the verklempt show here.
Verklempt. I'm getting verklempt. Talk about just
love that movie.
But to answer what you said, Jen, I think getting better at not going to pieces emotionally is part of what was intended when it says in Scripture to guard your heart.
Yep.
Because our hearts are a very vulnerable place, and that's not where rational thought takes place. That's where we're feeling. And we cannot always I think guarding our heart is another way of letting us know we can't let our feelings run away with us, or
Yeah.
even be so obvious to just anybody all the time, because
Yeah.
there are wolves in sheep's clothing out there who are ready to jump on that and take
Yep.
advantage. And wolves
Oh,
in
yeah.
sheep's clothing have been mentioned in the scripture many times
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
So I think we learn, hopefully, as we get older, to still maintain good qualities like empathy, but to
Mm.
add that modicum of maturity along the way to keep it in check and not lay all of your feelings out on the table. I'm not
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
don't be honest, just be a little more reserved,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
little
Hold some
more,
stuff back.
hold a
Sure.
little bit, make them, leave them wanting more. My mother always said, leave them
Oh, yeah.
wanting more. So yeah, that's how
Oh
I feel
man,
about that.
that's good. I used to be an
Beautiful.
overshare. I don't know about anybody here in the comments, but oh my gosh. One of those like, let me share my life story to this random lady in the grocery. Like, jeez. Not that bad. Okay, that sounded kind of bad.
No,
But you
no.
meet someone and I used to romanticize people like, oh, this might be my next best friend.
Sure.
And
Sure.
obviously there's connection there and stuff, friend wise, and you start
Yeah.
talking, and sometimes I used to just have diarrhea of the mouth, and I had to learn how to rein it in, and make sure that someone is earning the trust that it takes to
Right.
have between two people for you to share such personal things.
Mm.
I'm like, everybody's trustworthy. Here's my story. So
I'm like I was more like that when I was younger, but I have been like that, and yeah, you can get in trouble if you're not disclosing that information to the right person.
yeah,
Now I'm back around at the same place. I don't just share if someone doesn't seem interested, but I'm okay sharing. I mean, I haven't been accused of this in a long time, but when we started True Story Live, I had a couple of Facebook friends that listened to the broadcast, and they didn't continue to listen. So that should tell you where their attitude's at. But they, and on Facebook too, accused me of wearing my heart on my sleeve. I share too much. How can you share all that stuff? I wouldn't do that if I were you. Someone sent me a private message and said that very thing. So that I wouldn't go on and on. It was when I was going through the divorce, and I was prolific in the sharing of my grief going through the
yeah,
divorce. I mean, I posted the sad songs that I was listening to, little comments in there. I mean, it was pathetic. I mean, it really was. But that's how I felt. And if I'm going to share the joy that I feel when things are different, it seems like I can also share for those people that are empathetic out there, that they can understand that I'm hurting right now, and I would want to be there for someone else who was hurting. Yeah, and sometimes people share too much. Seems like they're always hurting. It's always, oh, another relationship failed. Here I am. Oh, why do I do this and put my heart out there and it gets squashed? Yeah, I mean, I probably was more cynical during that period of time. But I've come full circle. People hurt. People
yeah,
go through hard stuff, and let them share what they want to share and be there for them. That's what empathy is about, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. And maybe you're not experiencing the same thing, but you try to understand what they're going through. It's what it says in the quote here, and understand what another person's feeling. That's what it is. Understanding what they're feeling, sharing with them, and also mutual sharing is the best, in my opinion. When you share something with someone else and they share in return,
it's a
it's
beautiful thing.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, what do you think? Empathy, to be loving, opens the doors of empathy, to share in the emotions and understand what another person is feeling.
You're happy to answer, but I think we're going to have to skim these, otherwise we're going to miss the second part. If that's
Okay.
all right.
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
skim them.
Yeah.
What short answers to get to
Short
that's all.
answers.
All right,
Yeah.
no
Perfect.
problem.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've always been empathetic. We call it empathic. It's a word I never heard of before until the Yanks were using it. I think I've always been like it. Whether I actually shared it verbally is a question mark. I don't think always.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I've taken it on board internally, but
sure.
chosen what I thought wisely as to who I shared it with outwardly.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, thank you.
Number 3, generous. Loving people prefer to be generous with their time and money because their reward is to feel the happiness and gratitude felt by others. I haven't always been able to share money, but I am very generous with my time. I am willing to sit with someone in a parking lot and listen to their story, or you know, save someone, jumpstart their battery, or whatever I can do, because that is what I have. A lot of times, that's what I can give someone is my time.
Yeah.
I wish Jen and I pray a lot about being in a position to be able to help with money, because people have done that for us, and I want to pay it forward. But you can only give what you have to give, and sometimes it's not money. But yeah, I look at myself as always having been pretty generous, even in my more rebellious times. This is part of who I was growing up. What do you think, Jen? Loving people prefer to be generous with their time and money because their reward is to feel the happiness and gratitude felt by others.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would also say that not only is it a reward for the happiness felt by others, it ministers to you too. I think
Oh
it's like a
yeah,
symbiotic thing.
yeah,
To be able, gosh, I mean, even these days, like being generous with a smile and even eye contact here is a big deal.
yeah.
Seems like during the pandemic, people just it was so strange how things switched.
Sure.
People not making eye contact, not really
Yeah,
talking in public, avoiding each other. It sort of just shifted it.
it
Um,
did. It was
yeah,
palpable.
it was very
Yeah,
strange. So even in
yeah,
that sense, like there's so many ways that we can be generous with other people. And it is a beautiful thing for both people experiencing it, the giver and the receiver, I think.
yeah. Beautiful. Glenn, generous.
Yeah, I think I've always been generous, but I uh, don't like the thought of this. I don't. I'm not. I'm never thinking what's the happiness and gratitude felt by others. I mean, if a simple thank you. I mean, that's all
Yeah.
that's required.
Yeah.
I don't like this. You know me. I detest this over validation, where you're slobbering at the mouth. Oh, so wonderful. Oh no, I
Yeah,
can't deal with it.
because that
It's
happens to you
garbage.
all the time, Glenn.
No,
Everyone's just
everyone knows I don't. I validate what subtle in subtle ways. You
yeah,
just
you
got to
do.
pick it. You got to pick it up.
You do, but
But
I'll tell you this: when you do validate, it is fantastic. I mean, it
Yep.
is just like wow, amazing.
what I think you can just that's the whole thread of this validation is that you just you keep validating. It loses its relevance. It loses its impact because it's just like verbal diarrhea.
Mm,
You
yeah,
just
Some
say
might
it for
think
the
that.
sake. You might.
so
You
might
say it
have
for the sake.
that's
You
that was
say it for
good.
the sake of saying it to make
Yeah,
others happy. No, don't. You
no,
say it when you mean it.
yeah, sure.
Hmm.
Okay, that's.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Marisa. Generous.
I try to be. Again, I think I fall short and I need to work at doing that better. It's not so much wanting to give sometimes, it's just uh, taking the time to do it, organizing things to be able to do it, etc., etc.
Sure.
Um, but I'm getting better at that, I think, I hope.
Yeah,
And I love to try to, uh, if I can't give monetarily and I can't give of physical items necessarily each time, at the
yeah,
very least, I like to try and give time. Whether I'm taking the time to have a conversation with somebody,
yeah,
whether I'm just checking up on them to say, hey, it's been a while. I'm so sorry. How are you? So that's what I'm working on personally
yeah.
with my own being
Sure.
accountable, uh, being a little more generous than I have been. So
Excellent. Say a quick hello to Annette, who popped in the chat while we were talking. Welcome, Annette. We're always glad that you're here. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to skim 4, but it could be a whole nother broadcast on this one. The loving, grateful. The loving person is grateful for what they have and what they receive, because often their loving nature is reciprocated by those who receive it. Absolutely true. I am way more grateful now than I have been in the past. I think for a long time, I struggled being grateful. I just felt like I didn't have a lot of things, and one of those things that I wanted was a loving marriage, a loving relationship. Didn't have it. Then I thought I had it. Oh no, I didn't have it again. And then again, that period of grieving, I wasn't very grateful at all. And really, when I started True Story Live, and Glenn came on, and Jen came on, and a bevy of other people as well, but mainly Glenn talking about being grateful and sharing his view of going to other countries and seeing how the other half lived, and it moved me, and I'm in a way better place with being grateful, but I haven't always been, for sure. Marisa, on being grateful.
I would like to think that now, at this age, with everything that I've been, done, didn't do, gone through, good, bad, and everything in between, I'd like to think I'm finally starting to show some proper gratitude to God first and foremost, and to other people who have blessed me, helped me, my children. I'm trying to be better at that, but I am grateful.
Yeah.
I really think I understand that word a little more
Sure.
than I ever did, and I'm still learning. But every day, at the very least, I know I can be thankful that somebody brought up earlier. Glenn brought it up. I can wake up every day that I can wake up. Praise the Lord. Every day that I wake up, I'm not in the hospital. Thank you, Jesus. Every day that I know I have food and clothing and shelter, there's a bevy of things to be thankful for every single day. No excuse for me personally at this point to not wake up and be thankful for what I have.
Sure.
So absolutely.
Sure. Thank you. Glenn, grateful.
Yeah, this is one of the major things I believe that allows people to enjoy what they have rather than look beyond for what they don't have.
Yep. Sure.
Beautifully
Just
said.
keep forever wanting something more. No,
Sure.
forget that.
Yeah.
Live in the moment and feel the privilege, and I think it will take you an awful long way to that inner contentment.
Agreed.
And if I can submit something real quick, I would like to comment on that, Glenn. I believe that is a very plausible rationale for why God telling us not to covet, not to want things that we don't have. And I think that is a very important thing, to not waste time on wanting things that are not ours and that we don't have in the moment. And it's very important to be grateful for what we do have. I think that is the reason why that's one of the 10 Commandments. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, Jen, grateful.
Yeah, grateful is a big one. I've gotten into the habit of just talking to God about what I'm grateful for on my way to work. And it started with a gratitude journal, which I kind of fell off, and it became more of like a thought, process of just being grateful for the air in my lungs and my heartbeat in my chest and being alive, waking up in the morning. And I have to say, the job I have in particular, being a nanny for a well-off family, they've got 3 vintage cars and like a BMW and a couple other cars, and they've got this huge house and a movie theater and like all this stuff. If I were in a different place, and I've thought about this, where I was comparing my life to theirs, comparing what they had versus what I had, it's a very slippery slope. I've been able to work for this family and be grateful for what I have. Obviously, I see the differences, but also being grateful for what they have. What they have as a family, and that they can afford to do the things they do, and vacations and cars and all that stuff. But really and truly, I feel like gratefulness is the antidote to what was the word? Coveting. And even comparing yourself to other people, that can be a very slippery slope as well. And it doesn't lead anywhere good at all. I've had tastes of that in my life. Even when I was married the first time, I had a really hard time seeing other couples, like even my parents at the time, they did devotions every morning, and I so wanted that for me and my ex, and he just was not interested. And that's just
Yeah.
one example of many. But being grateful is just such a gift. It is amazing. I'll leave it at that.
It's a big one. Okay, so
Yeah.
with the time that we have left, I'm just going to read these the rest of them again, and if we have time at the end after we tackle the questions, we can revisit it and hit these up if
Okay.
everyone's okay with that. Number 5, kind. Loving people tend to be friendly, considerate, and affectionate, and typically there's not many restrictions to showing it. Oftentimes they will go out of their way to share their kindness with others. Very, very important. Nurturing. A loving person is often a natural caregiver who offers support, encouragement, and protection, all done in the name of love. That's a good one. 7, patient. Sometimes to be loving means one must accept delays and issues without becoming upset, annoyed, or anxious. That's huge, huge in relationships, especially, but just in general, I think. Number 8, positive. The loving person provides compliments, adoration, affection, encouragement, optimism, constructive feedback, and a good old pick me up when needed. May even throw a handshake, pat on the shoulder, or hug for good measure. Number 9, thoughtful. Not only are loving people kind and generous, but they're also thoughtful in considering the needs of others and are often sympathetic to one's troubles and struggles. And if we have time, I'll explain what I think the difference is between being thoughtful and empathetic, because to me, there is a real difference there. Then the last one, trusting. A loving person typically has strong trust in others because they see the best in people. They're not suspicious. They do not hold grudges or carry resentment because that interferes with their loving ways. All good stuff for people following Scripture as well. It's very clear in Scripture about being a loving person and what that means, and we can revisit that. Okay, now we come to the thinking part. Imagine you have this wonderful person in front of you with all the qualities listed, plus a value system based on integrity, honesty, morals, fair-mindedness, etc. They are available, are of similar age, have aligned belief systems, and yet something seems to be missing in your, quote, love the thought attraction to them. Here are some examples. Can you relate? The first one, timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? Timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? I'll share briefly. The timing wasn't wrong because of them in the past. It was wrong because my mindset, my self-esteem, what I was looking for, I wasn't seeing it. So I think one of the main reasons why I didn't date more, it was the self-esteem issue. But the other thing was I had a pretty high checklist. I wasn't wanting just to date. I wanted to be married. I wanted to find my predestined bride. I wanted to find the one that that God had provided for me. And up until my first marriage, I hadn't found it and still didn't find it until I met Jen. But the timing was wrong many times for me, or inconvenient, and it was because I had higher ideals than were realistic in my opinion, and because my self-esteem was in the crapper, just to be honest. And so the timing was never right for me. It was always inconvenient. Even if I would have met the right person back then, I think I just would have blown it up. It just wasn't ready, wasn't prepared, wasn't mature enough. That's my take on that one. Timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be, Jen?
Mine's a little bit similar to yours, I think. Just with my first marriage, I sort of forced it to happen and called it natural.
Yeah.
And I also spiritualized it. I took things that were happening and wrapped it in a pretty God bow at the time, thinking it was God leading me in a certain direction, and it was definitely not that. Now, yeah. I will say there is a possibility that this was supposed to happen because of the things I've learned, and they're invaluable lessons, life lessons, you know what I mean? So even if it was a mistake per se, I know God can make anything, beauty from ashes. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to think. Was it timing? Was that the word?
Timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? Why is the timing wrong or inconvenient?
I think I was too young and naive with that particular. I mean, gosh, there's so many things I could talk about, but that one in particular sticks out. I think when we were younger, maybe, I don't know if everybody deals with this, but at the time I thought I knew a lot more than I did. And I just went with it, just I wasn't mature enough to really be able to think about things, think them throughly, that's not a word, think them through.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess you could say the timing was not good, but then again, maybe it was. I don't know. I'll know one day for sure.
Well, I would hope you already know. I mean, the timing is good now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It wasn't
all right. Marisa, timing is wrong or inconvenient. Why might that be? Why is the timing wrong or inconvenient?
I think, not only like what Jen said, we try to think we know things when we certainly don't, especially when we're younger. Yeah. And only life and experience and learning lessons along the way can bring wisdom, knowledge, and maturity.
Yeah.
And I think some people just want to get on with life and get married and have sex and have their household and do all those things that they think are expected of them in certain points in time, particularly when everybody else around them is doing the same things.
Yes.
The same time. And you're looking around and like, well, how come I don't have this? And how come I'm the only one? I felt like that a lot. I can say that. But mostly, now I look back, I was just young, dumb, impatient, didn't know what I thought I knew, didn't have as much of a relationship with Jesus, didn't even consider that, gee, maybe I just need to learn some things and experience some things and grow and develop more before I try to take on something very serious and very much commitment. I just wanted to bite off more than I could chew at that time. I think that was my personal excuse, certainly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Glenn.
I think it's the time. From experience is that regarding timing is that people aren't in a similar place. Like one could have gone. You could be more like really ready for a connection, and other people's are just not there yet. Could be emotionally held up in things that are still in their present. A whole range of these things where you're just not in the kind of place where you can sort of totally gel. And I think it comes through. I've had said to me, look, I'm not ready for a relationship, when I've said that to other people. I'm just not in. It's not fair for me to go somewhere with this because I just don't feel it's right yet. I'm ready. So I think timing has a lot to play with it. Sometimes sometimes the timing is just perfect. Those are the ones that you tend to want to latch on rather than try to push the ones that push through the barriers of the ones that aren't right. Or they're just not.
Well said.
You get what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
You can try to, as soon as you try to force something,
it
doesn't work.
That was my whole first marriage in a nutshell.
Same.
I don't need to say anything else about that. I was trying to make something happen. It wasn't the right timing for me, certainly, and it wasn't convenient. And to tie into what Marisa said, even there was a little bit of that in there. Watching other people already have kids and already have a great job and mortgage on a 2,500 square foot home and a couple cars in the garage and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not just talking about the materialistic things. I'm just saying other people I knew were further along. And here I was single and like, when is this ever going to happen for me? And I just got tired of waiting and I tried to force something, and which leads into this next one. Seems too good to be true. Why do I think like that? Well, it was too good to be true. again, I hate to keep referring back to this, but it's just the truth for me. And that is that on paper, I was so blind, and I wanted to be married so much that I just checked all the boxes without really thinking about it. And on paper, it was too good to be true. And it was. A lot of things I tried to make a match. Some of the things matched on paper, but not in real life. And my gosh, I mean, my ex-wife and I talked for 2 weeks, and she pushed meeting sooner, which I didn't want to do. And again, self-esteem thing, always afraid that I do great with the chats and the phone conversations and the emails. And I'm really, really great at that in my own opinion. But meet in person, and that's when, I'm biting my nails. I'm always thinking someone's going to, because I've struggled with my weight, my whole life until recently, back and forth. And so just being concerned about the way I look physically. And so the point is, I was going to drag it out a little bit. Well, let's do more of the phone conversations and the emails and stuff. Let get to know me a little bit first before the in-person meeting. And then when we met, it didn't seem to be a problem for her, and that should have set off warning bells for me, and it didn't. I was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess this is happening. And then we were engaged within 2 months from the first time that we met. Now, if it's right for two people, then it's right, but it wasn't right. I know that now. But back then I was like, oh, whirlwind romance. Awesome.
This must be it.
It must be it. It was too good to be true, though. And why do I think like that? Again, self-esteem is one of them. Wanting that it so badly that I overlooked plenty of red flags. I had plenty of opportunity in the time leading up to being married, and even more so after being married, that should have told me this is too good to be true. I need to drop back and punt on this. But it is what it is. Can't go back and change anything. It did mold me into the man I am today in many ways. And I'm grateful for that. So I don't regret it now, but certainly back then I probably should have given it more thought. Seems too good to be true. Why do I think like that, Jen?
Ooh, yeah. Mine will be first marriage as well. I think I've talked about this before, but I was mirrored by a narcissist. I believe he is. I'm not a doctor, so I can't diagnose him. But he watched me and methodically mirrored back to me myself. So I was like, oh my gosh, we have all these things in common, and we like the same things, and we both go to church, and we both love God, and like all of these, it happened really fast. It was also a whirlwind romance. And I got swept up into it. And I think this is why sometimes it's really good and smart to give a relationship time to get to know the person, because anybody can put forth a good foot and act a certain way, but time will tell. You know what I mean? Especially, seeing how they react with their family and service providers, waiters, waitresses, other people. You just get more time to see if they are actually the person they are portraying. Mm-hmm. And so for me, what was the term? Too good to be true. Yeah, it was too good to be true.
Sure.
And it led me to a nightmare. So that'll be my short answer.
Well, you have woken up, like the nightmare I had last night. I woke up and everything was fine. But during the nightmare, it doesn't feel fine.
No.
Yeah. This is neither here nor there, but I had a dream I got locked into a bathroom stall and the door disappeared and some person came and stabbed me in the back.
Yeah,
literally.
That's not good.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And then I was in bed again with Jen. And I thought, oh, I'm awake, and my side started hurting. I was like, oh my gosh, it's followed me into real life.
No, and you were still asleep.
I was still asleep. It was still a dream. I left the bathroom and I was in bed again. So I thought, oh, and then I was trying to wake myself up. I was screaming out to wake myself up. I've done that for my whole life, and it scares my poor wife. And It's horrible.
Like,
I
no.
wish I could control it, but I don't seem to be able to. Also, the sound that comes from me is definitely it's a child sound that comes
Yeah,
out of my mouth,
childlike.
which I have no idea where that comes from. In real life, if something bad happened, I wouldn't make that sound. It'd be a different sound, but I wouldn't make that sound.
It'd be more manly. Raw.
Anyway, Glenn, seems too good to be true. Why do I think like that? What do you say?
This one really not applied to me much. I would imagine if I thought like that, it would because I've been bitten before, and I'd be like but I've never had that experience where it seems too good to be true, because I really only dated extensively in my 40s. The rest of it I just put to one side as a joke.
Yeah.
Before that, but the serious ones, I was carrying. I was sort of on the lookout for too good to be true, I suppose, by just having a pocket full of red flags. I used to say to anyone, listen, I'm going on a date, I've got a pocket full of red flags. But I noticed that as I dated more, I didn't have as many red flags in my pocket because I was responding automatically without needing to flag myself.
Sure.
I think. So by the time I got to Sandra, I mean, it was not even there was no red flags at all. There's never been one red flag ever.
Right.
Right from the get-go.
Right.
And I never thought it's too good to be true. At all. It's just one of those things. You just know that's how it's going to work. It's going to work. Sure. And in 25 years, I've never had a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know how many people can say that. I mean, I think that's once again, I feel privileged to be like that. But I think when you start at the beginning with the awareness, I think it doesn't matter whether it's a whirlwind or not. I think the place you're in at the time. You're well aware of what red flags are, and you're prepared to admit them to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you see as a red flag or a green flag. It's none of this trying to put it out at the back of your mind and hope that it goes away. It won't go.
Yep.
Like sore teeth.
No.
Like sore teeth. Teeth or something like that. If you're going to have to eventually go to the dentist, otherwise you're going to be in worse agony. It doesn't get better.
You wish it would get better. You wish
Feel like
it would
go away,
but it won't happen.
Nope.
Nope. Oh, maybe it'll just die itself out. Maybe it'll just blow over. Nope.
That's it.
Nope.
No. Doesn't happen.
Nope. Well, I can relate to that, Glenn, because I can certainly honestly say with Jen, no red flags. I mean, I would certainly understand if she saw some red flags to me, but no, I didn't have a pocket full of red flags. It's a good album. Good name for an album, though, by the way. Pocket
or a
full
song.
Of red flags. Or a song.
I'm on it.
There you go. Marisa, seems too good to be true. Why do I think like that?
Can you put that in context for me a little bit? I was just listening to what you guys were saying, and what was too good to be true?
I'm happy to go.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Glenn.
When you engage with someone or meet them, or you meet them online, no matter whether it's sort of, and you're you wanting a relationship of some description, I'm saying when things seem to go just so well, like you're so aligned and the stars line up and all of this stuff, and you're on wavelength and all of this, that you just think it's just how good's this? Is it? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yes, there have been times that I wish I would have had the good sense to recognize the red flags that I should have at that point, and just didn't, because I was personally so excited and enthused that, hey, I connect with this person on this level. And I was so overjoyed at thinking everything was genuine on both sides. It didn't even occur to me that it
Yep.
was too good to not be true.
Yeah.
Well, I don't feel that way anymore.
Right.
And I'll
This is
try very
learned.
hard to, after having been hammered by life by that particular lesson quite a few times, hopefully, I think I've got it by now. I'm hoping. But I think I think we go for it even when it seems too good to be true, because we want it. We want it so much
Yeah.
that for me personally, the one or two red flags initially didn't even faze me. You make excuses for the person. You
Sure.
think, oh, well, they're having a bad day, or
Yeah.
this excuse, that excuse, blah,
Huh.
blah, blah. That's all they are, is
Yeah.
excuses. I
Yeah.
mean, you're still, especially when you don't know the person, you're
Yeah.
going to come up with any old thing because you don't really know them either.
Right.
So, but I've been
Exactly.
there.
Oh my gosh.
I've been there,
Yeah.
and I hope I won't go through that anymore. But always be on the lookout. Gotta be watching.
Always got a pocket full of red flags waiting for you.
Nez, do you think it makes a person suspicious if they have a couple of those sorts of experiences to the point where
Absolutely. Sorry to interrupt you,
they're
but yes.
overcautious?
Yes.
Sure.
Me personally, yes, I've been there. I've even turned things inside out because I was so determined. Well, if this person was bad over here, then what's this person doing over here? This person's not even doing anything. And
Like hypervigilant.
Right. Hypervigilance. That's the perfect word. Yes, that's happened to me. Glenn.
Oh my gosh. I'm still trying to pull myself out of that pit.
Yeah.
Like
That's
everybody's an enemy. Ah!
Yeah. Well, yeah, but understandably so. I mean,
Yeah.
when you go through abusive relationship like you went through for as long as you did, and then before that, you basically went from living with your parents to living with this guy. Never had roommates and stuff. I mean, I'm not making excuses for you, but my gosh, yeah, I understand. I was impressed. Like when you left that marriage, and there were people, when you started really looking at yourself and what you wanted out of life and what you wanted out of friendships. I mean, you cut throats. I mean, left and right.
I was
Delete,
like, out, you don't pass the test. Out.
unfriend. And I was like, wow, that's a good thing I'm on this side of the fence, because that, goodness gracious. Oh, well, who's this person? She's done. That's who she is. She's out. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. That's right. Pretty impressive. But it's taken you some time, and now you're more understanding and you take more time to make decisions. But hey, if you know right away that someone's not a good fit for you and they're going to be dangerous, like I'm not going to mention names, but a year ago or 2 years, I don't know, time goes by so quick, I don't remember, but we had to make a very, very tough decision. And you put a lot of thought into it. It wasn't like an overnight thing, where before it would have been a split second thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said all that to say that, yeah, I mean, you're getting there, in my opinion. And
yeah.
Yeah.
I was also going to mention limerence, and I don't know if everybody knows what limerence is, but it doesn't just happen in romantic relationships where you fall in love with the idea of someone that you've kind of concocted in your head. I think women tend to do this more than men. Like, and I have such an overly active imagination. I know Nez does too, but I would get a hug from a guy, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's the one. Like, maybe this is the guy that God has for me. And then I'd start sort of concocting this like backstory and even like future stories of what would happen. It was insanity. And I think I did that with friends sometimes too. You'd have a couple things in common and your mind just like takes off. But that's so dangerous because it's not based in reality.
No.
And there's such a beautiful unfolding when it comes to getting to know somebody, whether romantic or friendship, and allowing their story to be read by you as you spend time together and share, in appropriate amounts at the appropriate times.
Yeah.
So limerence is definitely something that I've had to work on
Yeah.
before I even knew the word. I didn't even know there was a word for it. I just thought it was
No.
like an overly active imagination
Yeah.
and romanticizing.
Oh, sure. I did
Yes.
that. I did that too. And I had limerence with people that were completely unavailable to me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and talk about backstory. I was like, oh, the other person, they're gonna realize they're not right for them, and I'm gonna be just a friend. And then,
So it's
oh,
guys too. Okay.
oh, yeah. I think you're right, though.
Whew.
I mean, just in my opinion, it's not. It's more women than men. But yeah, I consider myself a romantic person, probably more so than some of the guys that I know. But yeah, I did it. But it's a low self-esteem issue that you would do
Mhm.
that. Why? I mean, there's a reason why I would pick someone to have limerence with that wasn't available to me.
Mhm.
I mean, if they had been available, it never would have happened. There wouldn't be limerence
Yeah.
with someone who was available, because then,
Well,
oh shit,
that means it's low risk.
it's
You
low.
can just stick to the fantasy story, and you
Oh my
never come to a point where you realize, oh, this isn't who they are.
No, and I was still, like I said, in my before the first marriage, I was still trying to do that. Like talk for 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh, let's keep this going. Yeah, because in my mind, the minute we did the in-person thing, either I was going to be disappointed or she was going to be disappointed, and then it wasn't going to happen. So I would
Yeah.
rather be in the unknown place of maybe this could happen and enjoy that. Enjoy the, oh, I got a message from this person, or oh, we're going to talk later. I'm excited about that. The fantasy of it rather
Yep.
than the
It's
reality of it.
intoxicating. Yep.
Well, sure. Yeah. So definitely. I exhausted Crips. What does that mean?
Who exhausted Crips?
Just you going through that.
Oh.
Like,
Yep. Disney Fantasyland.
Yeah, it's
I was going to be naughty and just say, well, if you go home with them on the first date, then you can't live in Fantasyland anymore, so you might as well get it over with.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But that was a bit naughty, and I wouldn't say it, of course.
But he just did.
Except his breath. Oh my gosh. Okay, we all answered this one. The next one is their looks don't appeal to me. What might that be? There. So I'll go first again. Their looks don't appeal to me. My looks didn't appeal to me, and that was more than often the problem for me. But before I met my first wife, I had met a couple people in person, and one was a couple months before I met my first wife. And it wasn't just the looks. Her looks didn't appeal to me, but it was more than that. It was we weren't compatible in what we wanted out of a marriage. She wanted to be a church mouse. That's the term Jen used the other day. We were talking about it, and I thought that was perfect. She wanted to just be part of the church and be a church secretary and all that, and not make much money, and then I would be the one to bring home the bacon. And I didn't feel up to that task, and I always wanted to have a partnership. And I've gotten a lot of flack from that. A lot of other guys out there that, from a biblical perspective, they see it as if the Bible is saying that the man needs to make all the money. Nowhere in Scripture. There is a lot about providing, but providing is more than just you're the only one that works. There's emotional support and love and consideration and kindness and lots of other things, all the fruits of the Spirit. Those are, I believe, what are expected. But anyway, so we met in person, and I was fine on the morning we met, and then I got sick. I had for the 3 days that she was there, I had a cold. And I spent, and it was bad. I mean, I was fine before, and then I wasn't fine. I don't know if it was psychosomatic. I don't know if but yeah, she called me materialistic. This was in a conversation after the fact. I mean, I didn't just drop her. We were still talking and stuff, but ultimately I have to be really honest. The looks thing was a part of it, but I usually would reject myself before I could be rejected, except for a couple times. Glenn's question, why might that be? Because I didn't feel good about who I was, physically, mostly physically, but I'm sure there were other things there as well. So if your looks don't appeal to you, if you don't have a healthy self-esteem, how are you ever going to be in a balanced relationship with someone else? You're always going to be worried. Well, she might leave me later. I mean, I did get left by my first wife. I did. It wasn't my looks, though. She made that very clear, and I have more information now than I had before. It wasn't about the way I looked at all. It was something completely different. It was something I could not provide for her. It wasn't money either, because I did that. She didn't work. I was the only one that worked. So even trying to avoid doing that, because of the decision I made and the choice that I made, I ended up doing the very thing I didn't want to do in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Being the sole provider in a world where it's very rare that a man makes enough money, or a woman, let's not be sexist, where one person, that's a good way to say it, one person makes enough money to survive in this economy. I mean, I read an article about this, separate from all of this, about how the days of there being one income, for the most part, are over. I mean, just to drive this point home, I make about $2,000 a month. Our rent is $1,550. Okay, so just marinate on that for a second. Just rent, not electric, not gas, not food, none of the other bills. Make $2,000, take home. Rent is $1,550. I literally could not afford to live by myself. Now we have a 3-bedroom house, but 1-bedrooms are not a whole lot cheaper than 3-bedrooms right now. So anyway, looks don't appeal to me. Why might that be? Because I had low self-esteem. It's gotten a lot better. It gets better as time goes on, especially doing something about it physically for me has helped a lot. But I would reject myself before anyone else could ever reject me. And that was a problem for me. Marisa. Oh, go ahead, Jen, if you want to go.
Oh, does Marisa want to go first? I can go if you're not ready yet, Marisa.
Go right ahead. I was typing something. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So for me, and this actually tags into what we mentioned before we started this part of the question, limerence and spiritualizing stuff, especially. Oh. So with my first marriage, you can hear me okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. I was not physically attracted to my ex-husband. He wasn't really my type, but I was a baby Christian, and I was like, it's what's on the inside that counts. And with me being mirrored, I was like, this is perfect. This is God. This is, kismet, whatever. Yeah. And I also I concocted this story of, okay, I'm not physically attracted to this guy. I think this is a test from God. Oh, I think he is testing me to see if I am going to be the type of Christian woman, daughter, that is not so hung up on looks. This is a test for me to humble myself and remember that it's what's on the inside that counts. It was very interesting how I sort of twisted that. Now, I do think attraction is important. It's not just how somebody looks on the inside. It should include all aspects, what's on the inside and how their mind works and their personality and their morals and moral compass and all that stuff. But that was interesting. And being in this place now, looking back at that and the thoughts that I had and these things I was concocting, it's just like, oh my gosh, geez. Oh, Lordy. So yeah, their looks don't appeal to me. That's just my story to pinpoint that particular one.
All right.
My goodness. Yeah.
Glenn.
Not good.
Thank you, Jen.
Well, let's get real. Not all of us are oil paintings. In fact, the majority of us. And it's
Are
the
not.
and yeah, we're not all painting. And the world puts this concept of beautiful and imposes that on us. It's
Yeah.
like a stereotype that we are going to judge every person that comes
Mm-hmm.
into our life based on
Yeah.
somebody else's stereotype. It seems to be a bit crazy, but it
Glenn,
seems to be
Yeah.
also quite the way it works.
there's a whole science about symmetry of a person's eyes. Like if their brow ridge is lined up, or whether one eye is lower or bigger or smaller than the other, there's a whole science to that, and that's what is considered beauty if your eyes are symmetrical. I mean, I'm right out of that from the get go. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's so much focus put on that. Magazines make it hard for women. They present these little tiny flimsy, fragile little ingenue women that weigh about 100 pounds soaking wet, and put that out there. And basically, what it does to women is say, "Well, I'm not that. I don't look like that. I don't look like a starving heroin chic model. So, what chance do I have?" It's unbelievable the society that we live in, and the amount of focus that is on physical beauty. It is just unbelievable. Now, I agree with Jen. What Jen said, like I feel for her when she's in this place of spiritualizing that and saying, "Well, this is a test from God," or whatever. I agree with her, though, that there should be other things that enter into it. I mean, I'm just be honest. If I didn't have the self-esteem issue and I met some woman who was a supermodel or whatever, I'm not really attracted to that, but let's say I was, there would be other things that I would look for in that person other than just physical beauty. Because just be honest, physical beauty fades. We get old. We gain weight. Wrinkles start to happen. Things start to drop. And if you're relying on that, what happens when that's gone? You see it 100 times. Women who were the beauty queen in high school, and then they get older, and unfortunately, their husband drops them for a younger model, and it's unbelievable. Anyway,
Okay, I'll keep going. Don't you think it's sad, like particularly online, is you exchange things with someone, they seem to be a lovely person,
mhm.
they've got all the the values, as I said in the write up, they line up, and then you say, okay, we're going to meet, and then you've got to know them, then you meet them and take one look at them and walk off. I mean, it just
Yeah,
seems so sad. What a waste!
sure,
Like, um,
yeah.
I
What's the
think
point?
we all have boundaries at some point in terms of looks, but personally, mine are pretty broad, and
Sure,
I think because I think it's only fair that if you do meet someone online and you meet them in person, you actually participate and not
yeah,
mindset yourself in the first 3 seconds. Oh, I don't like this person,
right,
and then try to get out of there. That's just, to
yeah,
my mind, condescending and insulting
sure,
to that person.
sure it is.
So I wouldn't
Sure.
like to do that at all.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
Marisa, their looks don't appeal to me. Why might that be?
I think that can happen because if something really isn't supposed to be happening, if the timing isn't right, if the person isn't right, if the matchup isn't right, I think that's just one of the ways that God can step in and go, well, have a look, see, what do you think? And then you just go, oh, okay, maybe not. So I can see a plus to that sometimes, but uh, but for me as a woman, I don't gauge men that I've considered attractive primarily initially on their physical appearance. For me, if you want to get my attention, you got to have a brain in that head worth having. You got to have a
Yeah,
sharp wit. You got to have a sharp sense of humor. You got to have a moral compass that's worth a damn. And you've got to not be someone who is abusive or dangerous, or you know what I mean. Not someone you know, someone who's going to demonstrate these qualities we're talking about tonight. If
Yeah.
you see someone, catch someone in the act, and they don't even know you're watching them, and you
Yeah.
see them being generous, and you see them being kind to someone else, or offering a helping hand to someone, how sexy is that? Now, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I
Ain't
agree.
no outfit, ain't no diet, ain't nothing gonna, plastic surgery. No, it has nothing to do with the physical. And I
Right.
don't believe for 1 minute that God is going to bring anybody, a prospective spouse, that you look at and go, ew, I'm sorry. I don't think it's that way. I
Right.
think you will be attracted to the right person at the
Yeah.
right time for the right reasons.
Ah, I like it. Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that. Next one, not my type. In other respects, what might that mean? Not my type. Jen, why don't you go first? You were talking about your first husband and said he wasn't your type. What does that mean? And I'm not being.
Oh, no. That's a great
Yeah.
question. Well, when the real Slim Shady decided to step out onto the stage, I was like, what the fresh hell is this?
Yeah. What fresh hell is this?
Oh my gosh. So
I wanted to laugh. I'm sorry, but I laughed too.
I was like, where's Nez? I thought you'd find that funny.
That was a good one. Yeah. It's like, that was a good one. That was funny. What's going on?
The delayed applause, laugh track. No. So there was, I think one of the things that, what was the question again? I got so caught off guard with the jokes.
Not my type.
Not
in
my
other
type.
respects, what might that mean?
Yeah.
What does not my type? He's asking.
Not my type mean. So he hated people. He complained nonstop. I thought I was going to go insane. I have never met anybody that I actually, I don't know if I've ever said this on the show before, but I one time bought on Amazon a crowd clicker, which is a little metal doohickey that you hold in your hand and you click this little button and it has like 3 or 4 windows where it counts.
This is hilarious.
So, because I was like the scientist in me, the data collector, I was always collecting data and doing charts and graphs, trying to figure out what the hell was going on with this relationship and the fights. But I literally started keeping track of all his complaints throughout the day just to see, like, I just needed proof that I wasn't crazy, you know? He didn't like Black people. He didn't like Mexicans. He didn't like Asians. He didn't like white people. He hated the weather. He hated it when it was too sunny and too hot and too cold and too rainy, too muddy, too dry. Like it just was insanity. He just didn't treat people right. Like he would schmooze people like in our store, but behind closed doors, he would talk about people. And even in public, one time we were at a Cracker Barrel while we were on the road, and this woman who was our waitress, we got sat and then we got forgotten about, and they were kind of busy. And when she finally came out to our table to get a drink order, I could obviously tell that something was wrong, that something had happened. She was having a really bad night. I could tell that she was very emotional and she was trying to hold it together. And he was such a jerk to her. And when we left, he left her a penny for a tip. And I was so horrified. This is just one of many things. I was just very, very horrified that that he even did that. Because she wasn't being a bee. She just, you could tell something was going on. And I thought, oh my dear Lord, like a penny? Anyway, gosh. And he just, he didn't have any friends, and he just was angry all the time and lashing out. He cussed God out all the time. He flicked God off. It was so bad. There was so much about this person that by the time the fog kind of lifted, I just thought, why am I with this? Like, this is such a mismatch.
Yeah.
And when we just didn't get along, we fought, and it just was not working on any level. But yeah, I love people who are compassionate and kind and giving and merciful and gracious and thoughtful. It was
Yeah.
like all these things that he was not. And I also feel like he hated the things in me that I thought were, and not in a pompous way, but I loved about me.
Mm.
The fact that I loved God and I loved people and I loved talking to people. He would get mad at me for talking to people too long in our store. And that was
Yeah.
one of my favorite things about having the
Sure.
store was meeting people from all over the place. Because when you
Sure.
have antiques, you have people coming, visiting Colonial Williamsburg from
Yeah.
overseas and,
Yeah.
people from all parts of the country and other continents and stuff. So it just, I felt very squelched because his negativity and his attitude and how he treated people and himself, it was so
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And he just did not like my light and my
Mhm.
happiness or joy. And so it kind of like eclipsed me. And I also became smaller and smaller to sort of
Sure.
not be the target.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot that just did not jive at all. And the crazy thing is, because he mirrored me in the beginning, I thought, oh, this person in the beginning is his true self.
Mhm.
And so when it started going downhill, I kept trying to get us back to the beginning. And
Right.
that's definitely a wackadoo trick that they
Right.
use.
They sure do.
So yeah, it was not a good match at all. I mean, you can have two people that have maybe core issue, not core issues, like morals and a moral compass and core values. That was the word I was looking for. And then you have different likes and dislikes and, different more surfacey things that are a
Yeah.
mismatch. And you can still be together if
Uh-huh.
those core values are similar or the same. But this was
Sure.
not the case. It was definitely
No.
not the case. I was duped.
Thank you, Jen. Yeah,
You're
you were.
welcome.
Um, that was really good. I'll just say really quickly. Yeah, I know what my type is now. I would say what I don't like is bossy or controlling women. There's a reason why I don't like that. My mother was that way as one of her parts, not all of who she was, but one of her parts was controlling and bossy, and I didn't want to have anything to do with that. Also, my sister, she's a very strong, opinionated woman. I don't mind strength. That's not the issue. People say, well, you just don't like strong women. No, I love strong women. I just don't want their strength I don't want to fight them over power. I want to be a balance. And the more opinionated they are, their opinions matter more than yours. Um,
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not a whole lot of, she's not my type. I would have been open to someone that wasn't exactly my type. If it's, as Glenn says, before the questions, that everything else matches up. The type thing, yeah, if they're bossy and aggressive and all of that, it's a real turnoff to me. I don't want any part of that. But pretty much everything else, I could have worked around. I don't have to have a person be perfect. I'm not perfect. I know that. So I'm not looking for perfection, but that, yeah, as far as not my type, that's the area in which I wouldn't have been able to put up with. It means I have, what might that mean? To me, it means that part of us is not compatible. Other things can be incompatible, but when it comes to that, if everything else lines up, then that would be the nope, can't do that for me. What about you, Glenn? Not my type in other respects. What might that
I tried to think it down to a summary, and I came up with someone who's not full of bullshit. Because there's nothing worse, to my mind, than someone who just wants to tell you how wonderful they are,
be?
and
Oh gosh.
all
Yeah.
this sort of stuff, like the real turn off stuff. Oh, this
Ugh.
and I. The family's got millions of dollars, and my son's a general executive of Apple or something. And
Oh
here's me, I'd be just totally rolling my eyes and thinking,
yeah.
I'm out of here. But I think it would be very unlikely that someone who has some of those or most of those 10 qualities plus a value system is going to come to a meeting and shoot their mouth off about how good they are. It just doesn't seem like that's
No.
going to happen to me.
No.
They're
Probably
not
not.
going to be that sort of person
No.
empathic and generous and grateful and kind
Yeah.
and nurturing and all that. Doesn't
Right.
seem to gel, does it? But if
No.
they're full of it, no thanks.
No, thank you. Thank you. Marisa, not my type. What does that mean?
Well, I was going to ask Glenn, is this specifically meaning you look at someone and just see them physically and go, they're not my type? Or, is this deeper than that? This question in particular.
I don't have a physical type. I've said that all along. It's amazing. I've said this before on the show. You might have the beautiful blonde and you meet her, and when she opens her mouth, she's a space cadet. Well, that's
Yeah.
not my type.
Right.
You might have
Right.
someone who's plain Jane, but is a woman of substance,
Yeah.
and all that, and you're ticking all the boxes. I'm thinking, yes, please.
Yeah.
I think I feel the
I don't-
same way, because you don't know. Looks can be deceiving, but I don't think you're going to ticking boxes on somebody and finding good qualities if you don't at least find something, at least, physically interesting at the very least, if not compelling.
Nez, I think what happens is and I don't like to use the words like not as pretty as or plain or whatever, which most of us generally are, but I think let's call it just a normal person in the street. When you meet them and they exhibit all these qualities, they suddenly become a lot more attractive right there and then.
Yeah.
You suddenly see them in a whole different light, and all of a sudden, their star's shining pretty bright.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the blonde, who's the so-called gorgeous one, you're pretty well diminishing her pretty fast. The
Right.
space cadet, because
Yeah.
what's a waste of your time? Like seriously.
I agree.
It might be good for other people, but not for me.
Right.
Right. I agree. So I really don't have anything else to add to that.
All right.
I don't really think I can, other than, than that. Sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes it's just a vibe you can get from somebody, and especially when you just meet them in person, and you're like, oh, okay, no, I gotta go. So yeah, I think that's the only thing I can add to that.
No, that's
Not
good.
my type, but my original question was, were you wanting me to answer about a type being specifically towards physical attraction? Is that what you're wanting us to
No.
answer?
No. You did hear my answer, right? It didn't have anything to do with looks.
I know. I was just asking Glenn. Is that what you were? I mean,
shooting for.
Yeah, was that what you were shooting for?
Glenn?
I think he answered. I think he answered that one.
Well, I mean, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. But I think I'm on the same page pretty much. You don't really know unless you meet the person or encounter the person in real life. But if sometimes it's not even about looks, you may like or not like the person's looks and engage in conversation and tick boxes off and still get along whether or not you like their looks. But even after that, you can still get a feeling that has nothing to do with any of that, good or
That's
bad.
true.
I've had that happen too. That's the only thing I can add to that.
That's the next question. Something intuitively feels wrong. How might one resolve this to try to understand why? Intuition's a big thing to me. Sometimes I've been wrong, more often right, and that's not a humble brag. I feel like I have a strong intuition. And when I have a feeling like something's up, now I've already admitted that in my first marriage, I openly overlooked my intuition was signing off warning bells, and I said, shut up, just just be quiet. And I do regret that, but that's really the only time that I remember doing that. if I felt something intuitively feels wrong and everything else is lined up, like Glenn put in there, I would want to try to understand. I'm intuitive, but I love a good mystery. If there's something wrong, I want to know what it is. I'm not one of these people who just say, "Oh, I don't know. I intuitively feel like something's wrong, and I don't know what it is, but it's a no." No, I would want to try to understand why. I probably try too hard to understand why on most things, when I should just go with my gut, and I don't have to understand it. I do have to understand it. That's the way I'm made. So if something intuitively feels wrong, I would ask more questions. I would get to know the person more until I could figure out what it is I'm reacting to. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I feel something intuitively feels wrong, and I spend more time with it, do a little more searching, and it's not wrong. Again, my first marriage is not a good example because I knew some things were wrong and I just blew right past it, and I paid the price for it. That is the cautionary tale in a nutshell. What do you think, Jen? Something intuitively feels wrong. How might one resolve this to try to understand why?
I think learning how to know ourselves is a really, really big key in this, because if you don't get to know yourself, then you could have an intuitive feeling or a gut feeling and completely ignore it. I think it's more, you'd have more of a propensity of ignoring it if you don't know thyself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I know for me, I just was so wrapped up in my spiritualizing and fantasizing that I blew past things that should have made me realize that something was off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until much later that I looked back and realized, wow, my naivete was so thick that I just was like, la di da, skipping through the roses. Oh my goodness, it really and truly, it was very, very thick. And I was actually talking to one of the girls I nanny for, and she's the oldest, she's a teenager about to graduate, so I'm not really her nanny, but I was just sharing some things with her, and I was talking about this very thing, about how naive I was, and how it wasn't that I didn't think there wasn't bad people in the world. I just truly believed that every person had good in them that could be uncovered, somehow, and that if they were being bad, it had something to do. It wasn't like I didn't have enough experience and exposure to people that actually like to do bad things. It was like always me thinking, oh, well, they had a bad day or this or that, or minimizing it and, excuses. So I just really didn't have a whole lot of experience and wisdom to be informed to actually listen to my gut or notice when something felt off. Yeah. Because even put it this way, there's been times in the past where someone has said or done something really inappropriate, and I'll like laugh or just, whoosh it away in my mind. Oh, they didn't mean that, and that's just a recipe for disaster. Sure. But yeah, so that's my answer.
Okay. Marisa?
I've learned to listen to my gut. I've learned to listen to the Holy Spirit. Now more than ever, especially at this point in my personal walk with the Lord.
Yeah.
If I'm getting that feeling, and there's really no other way to describe it for me personally, but a tug at your soul, a tug at your spirit, going, whoa, pay attention to something going on here. Yeah. That's now, at least now, I know I can go to the Lord privately in prayer and go, let me know what's going on. What do I need to do from here? Yeah. And you can, we are instructed in Scripture to try the spirits. We're supposed to test the spirits. We're supposed to look into that. That's not something about our life that we are supposed to sweep under the rug or ignore or pretend doesn't exist or just look the other way. Sure. And I've had to learn that the hard way. So if I'm getting that feeling at any time about anyone, I'm going to excuse myself and go into my prayer closet and go, help me, Lord.
Mhm.
So that's
Okay.
how I handle that now.
Okay. Thank you, Marisa. Glenn, you're up last one on this one. Something intuitively feels wrong. How might one resolve this to try to understand why?
Yeah, I'm a bit different from you on this one. I put intuition at the top of the absolute top of the tree,
Sure.
and I trust it more than anything. So therefore,
Yeah.
if it feels wrong, I will let my intuition will guide me where to go, and I don't have any necessity nor need to try to work out why. No, to me that's irrelevant. The fact is, I just go with it.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't need to problem solve it. I just think, well, that's what I'm getting, and I got to trust it.
Sure.
Bang. Thank you.
Okay. Next one. Relationship type does not line up. Do you say no if one wants casual, the other long term? This will be a short answer for me, but I have no interest in casual. Never have. As I stated earlier, I wanted to be married and have a relationship. I saw other people doing casual, like oh, we're not exclusive. No, I don't play the exclusive. I don't do other people dating, and that may sound unreasonable. Certainly in today's where you have an app and you date one guy one night or one girl one night and then you got another date the next night. That's not me at all. Never has been. So relationship type doesn't line up. Then it's a no. It is a no. I don't hold it against them. If the person wants casual, I'm looking for long term, and it doesn't match up. We go away as friends. We could be friends, but if that's not matching up, it's a no for me. What do you think, Jen? Relationship type doesn't line up. Casual versus long term.
Oh, yeah. That's unfortunate. It
Yeah.
happens though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think sometimes you get people that go ahead and dive into these relationships in the knowing that one person is more casual and the other person is looking for something long term. And that can be a little bit rocky because the person that wants long term is trying to maybe prove that they're worth, being in a long term relationship with
Yeah.
someone that just wants something casual or vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what exactly is this question asking? Like just
If
my opinions about that?
Yeah, it's just like, do you say no if one wants casual and the other long term? I answered no. Like but that's because what I was interested in is a long term. I was not interested in just a casual dating situation.
Yeah.
I just wasn't
Yeah.
interested.
I probably would suggest if two people aren't on the same page with that, it probably either isn't the right timing or
Right.
it's just not the right person.
Yeah.
Because
They
that's, yeah. Good.
if I was just gonna say if one's ready for long term, the other one isn't, maybe you meet down the road when the other person's ready that wants the
Yeah.
casual. It just may not
Yeah.
match up for the time. That's all.
Yeah. And someone that's wanting a more long term serious relationship and the other person's into casual, I mean, in my mind, that makes me think that they're probably still dating other people and looking around and
Yep. Not for me.
who knows what that means. No. No
Nope.
thanks.
Glenn.
Yeah, I've always been very attracted to the prospect of spending a long time with the one person.
Yeah.
Because it just look, I mean, seriously, if you find the right person, you just can't beat it.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
Right.
so casual has never interested me
No.
particularly.
No, I
No.
agree. Marisa, what about you? Casual or long term? Do you say no if they don't match up?
I'm a long term kind of person,
Yeah.
friends and otherwise. So
Yeah. There you
I mean,
go.
there's just no getting around it. Some people are there for a season, some there for a specific reason, for a specific part in your life, and some people just are like a one time. Hey, I'm here, and I met you on the bus, and I'll never see you again. But it was nice talking to you. You get all kinds of things that happen to you in life.
Yeah.
But for someone who's in a relationship with me, whatever that might be,
Yeah.
I'm generally interested in long term. I
Yeah.
do not want to find someone on an app one night and then be done with them and find another person the next. No, I've never
No.
felt comfortable with that idea. I'm not saying I'd never do it, but I don't do it anymore, and I never want to do
Right.
it again.
There you go.
But
All
yeah,
right.
long term kind of gal.
Yep. Next one. I'm a homebody. They're a party person. Is there room for compromise? Now this will be quick, but it'll make the point. When I met my first wife, I was at the tail end of being a party person, but I definitely was not a homebody. I enjoy being at home when I want to be at home. And she was a homebody, didn't have a social bone in her body, and I actually helped with that. So I hope she's out enjoying herself and doing. I really do. I wish her the best. Hope she does well. Hope she finds what she's looking for. Really do. No sarcasm there whatsoever. But when we met, I was tail end of that. I'd done enough. I did it with her because she wanted to feel what that was like. And now, I mean, I don't mind going out every once in a while, but I'm very much, I have what I want. I'm very comfortable. Not so uncomfortable. I don't even know how to phrase that. Like, not so comfortable that I don't ever want to go out or do anything, but I just really like being at home with my wife. And is there room for compromise? Yeah, well, there was before my first marriage. She was a homebody, but she had the desire to go out. She wanted to broaden her horizons, and I was more than happy to help with that. Um, so I think probably there, if Jen all of a sudden wanted to, go out more and stuff, yeah, I wouldn't not do that. I just, at my age, I've done it. I've got the t-shirt. It's done. It's over. I don't need that anymore for me. What do you say, Jen? Homebody, they're a party person. Is there room for compromise? What's your opinion on that?
Well, what's the definition of party? This is like drinking and
Could be
swinging from the chandeliers.
swinging
Um,
from the chandeliers.
I think it kind of depends on the couple. I think there are people that can find a balance between like times where you're a homebody and times where you're going out together.
Sure.
But if it's a couple where you're being separated all the time, when the one homebody person is staying at home and the other person is going out to party, that I'd probably say no. And then again, it kind of depends on what the definition of party means.
Yeah.
If you're going and getting lambasted, I don't
Great word.
think that's a good
Yeah,
a
it
good
doesn't work for you.
coupling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am definitely more of a homebody person. I love dinner
Sure.
parties and like family
Yeah.
game nights and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm the type where I love people and I love being around people, but it does drain my battery. Like some people get energized by
Yeah.
being out with people, but I have to kind of like have time to recoup.
Yeah.
My mom and I have a term for it. It's called being peopled out.
Oh,
I
I
get
like it.
peopled out pretty quick.
I like it.
So yeah, it's a nice balance of being around people and then having some alone time, whether that's with you or by myself to kind of recuperate.
I love
But
it.
yeah, we're more homebody people.
Yep. And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Marisa, homebody or party person? Is there room for compromise?
Homebody. And
Homebody.
there's a time and a place, to go out and party. Now, strip clubs, titties, and beer kind of partying. No, we're not into that. Swingers clubs where you put your keys in a fishbowl. No, we're not into that.
Yeah.
But I like Jen. I think maybe having a nice dinner party at someone's home, or going out for coffee or lunch, or going out for a picnic, or camping. Something more along those lines.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. That's all right. But I think the right person you're going to want to be with most of the time, no matter what you're doing, and you're going to want to be together no matter what. So.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Marisa. We're almost done, guys. Glenn, I'm a homebody. They're a party person. Is there room for compromise?
I like Jen's answer on this one. I think there is room for compromise. But I just seem to have always end up with people who are more like introverted and not extrovert party people. So I've never really had to resolve it because I like staying home But I'd say if the other person is more social than
Mm-hmm.
I am, I'd say, well, invite the people over, invite your friends over to the
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to. I mean, I'm not saying don't go out. I will never say to
Right.
someone, well, don't go out and see your friends. That's not my place
Yeah.
because I trust them totally.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think if you want to bring your friends home and introduce them and stuff, I think that seems to me to be a middle of the road good compromise. You're not
Yeah.
denying yourself that social interaction you need, or
Yeah.
part of it, and and it's all in the family sort of thing.
Yep.
So,
Love it.
but for me, no, I'm not a party person at all.
Right. Right. Just like a
Party at
little,
home, I say. Party at home with your spouse sounds good.
yeah, little gin,
Yeah.
little sake every once in a while at home.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
there you go. Hey, I pay attention. I know what you like. Yeah. All right. They have a poor relationship with family, etc. Do I read as an ominous sign? No, not for me. Yeah, maybe I'd look at it depending on why they have a poor relationship. But I certainly know that a lot of people don't have a great relationship with their family, and sometimes it's not the person's fault. It very much could be that their family of origin they just suck. They just do, and it's not their fault. I'm more interested in what the person does. Are they capable of having a good relationship with me? don't don't as much care about the family. Now I'm a family person. I would love it to get along with someone's family, my spouse's family. But I'm not willing to put a bunch of work in if they're not willing. So poor relationship doesn't read as an ominous sign to me. What is an ominous sign is if they have relationship issues with me, or if I see that they can't relate very well relationally to me. That's
Yeah.
the ominous sign. What do you think, Jen? Oh, I'm having such trouble. I said it like 3 times now. I can't say it again. Ominous.
Ominous.
There you go.
Do I read that as an ominous sign? I think it depends. With my ex, he had a very, very tumultuous relationship with his mom. And there were things, he shared with me and things that I saw and even actions from her and then seeing them together. He avoided her like the plague, would never take her calls. She'd come by the store and just ambush him and me as well.
Yeah.
So even from the beginning, there was definitely some red flags a flying.
Yeah.
But I just ignored it. I
Yeah.
think sometimes you need more information. I
Sure.
think it can be an ominous sign, but gathering some more information because
Yeah.
there might be someone you'll meet that has a really bad relationship with their family, and there could be very valid reasons behind that.
Right.
It might not be that the person that you're with is being disrespectful or entitled or whatever. There could be some serious, very what's the word? Good
Red flag.
reasons as
Good
to
reasons.
why it's a
Yeah.
tumultuous relationship. But then other times you just have to be aware
Good.
of how they treat people, how they treat their
Sure.
family. Yeah, for sure.
Sure. Thank you. Marisa, they have a poor relationship with family, etc. Do I read as an ominous sign?
Well, that's not enough information about this ominous sign. A
Right.
poor relationship could be many things. A
Yeah.
poor relationship could be where one party is abusive and the other one is being abused, and who's on what side of that?
Yeah.
I think that it's wise at the very least to pay attention, um, and glean what you glean from it, learn what you can learn, and still your relationship is with the person you're with and not with the family so much. Um, so you can have a wonderful person in your life with a crappy family, and the other could be true. The other way around. So, that ominous sign. I mean, now what are these ominous signs? If they're making furniture out of human skulls, that's an ominous sign. You want to pay
Absolutely.
attention to that one. So make sure you are at the very least paying attention to what these signs are. So, yeah.
Yeah, Lampshades Grover. Yeah, that's you run. You run from Lampshades Grover. All right, Glenn. They have a poor relationship with family, etc. Do I read as an ominous sign?
Not necessarily. I think each of the three answers had merit. But one thing I do react to is when someone comes and starts bad mouthing really, extensively. Oh, it's this
Yeah,
is this person is that. Just continual takedowns, put downs. It's obviously in a place whereby it's potentially causing a destructive scenario within the person. I'd be
Yeah.
very aware. But yeah, I
sure.
noticed uh, like I noticed what Sandra used to say with her mum, which she didn't get on. It seems like so many women have problems with their mothers. Crikey's, it's chronic.
Yeah,
I could, like, oh, it's just like just about every one, more than 50% of people I know. Anyway, and ex-partners, the ones she never spoke badly. Oh, she made her point clear, but she didn't put them down
yeah,
to the pits. Like always, there's an element of respect there for the
sure.
fact that they are your family, but whilst telling
Yeah,
the truth at the same time.
yeah,
But not put down out of resentment and all of this sort of stuff. It's very, I think, debilitating to a person if they're going to live with that,
yeah.
and means they're not as available for a relationship with me or you or whoever.
That's it.
It can be all consuming.
Yep,
So I think you need more information. But
I agree.
yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Glenn. I want to say hello to Bottle Caps and also DMC Productions. Thank you guys for coming. As we always say, come late, come in the middle, come at the end. It doesn't matter. We're glad you're here. So thank you. One more, and then we're done. Save the best for last. And in my opinion, they're all good, but this one's a good way to end it. Glenn says, often when relationships are on the rocks, we hear words, "I don't love you anymore." That's a quote. "I don't love you anymore." Then Glenn says, "I have no idea what that means. It seems like a communication cop out. I wonder if the word love did not exist, would the phrase be more on point with the words, 'I don't like you anymore'?" I don't know about that last part, but I have gone on and on in the past about this, and it was really a fear, and I think it was a healthy fear because I've told Jen, she probably gets tired of me saying it, but I've studied marriages for a long time because there's a reason why. I wanted to be good at it. I didn't want to get a divorce in the first place. I wanted to be good on my end, and I wanted to find someone that was willing to be good on their end. Not that the relationship was perfect. I know I'm not perfect. It's impossible to have perfection in anything. It doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. But the idea of "I don't love you anymore" is a real issue for me. Um, and I've heard people say it, not to me, thankfully. That was not the words that were used when my first wife left. "I don't love you anymore." She used the God route, the over spiritualizing things, and it was garbage. But the Lord told me to separate from you. That's what she said at first, and then she never threw the divorce word in there, but that's what it was. Just to be honest, it wasn't a separation. She didn't say "I didn't love you." She said I didn't love her. Now, she ended up being right in a way because I didn't really know what love was until I met Jen. And I can see a marked difference the way I feel about Jen compared to the way I felt about my ex-wife, but it is what it is. But this idea that you can stop loving someone, it doesn't make any sense. "I don't love you anymore." How is that possible? I mean, I understand, finding things out about the other person that you don't want to live with. I understand, maybe you idealized it or had limerence in the beginning, and now the reality comes in, or life's hard, finances, jobs, whatever. There's any number of things that can happen within a marriage, but to even say the words "I don't love you anymore" makes absolutely zero sense to me. And Glenn said it seems like a communication cop out. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would never say that. And if I felt it, I would do something because it would mean that I'm missing something. Um, Love is something. Sometimes love is built. It's you fall in love with someone and you have all the chemicals at the beginning, and then you spend the rest of your time learning how to love that person with all of your being day by day. And that's what I have. I would never fall out of love, because it's not just about saying, oh, I'm in love. I mean, it's important. I know it's important. I'm not saying it's not, but just saying, I don't love you anymore. Well, did you ever in the first place? I don't understand how you can fall out of love with someone unless you're just basing it on chemicals and the chemicals go away. And then where do you go from there? It is, to me, 100% a communication cop out. If I was married to someone, there would be other reasons. If I was going to leave, if I was going to be the one to decide to divorce, it would be other things. It wouldn't be because I've fallen out of love. And the other thing is, you can love someone and not be good match to live together. I mean, that's the fact. So it's not going to be on my end. It's not going to be because my feelings are different than they were when we first met. But I'm lucky. I'm very blessed that I love the person I'm with more and more each day, because I'm growing and changing, and she's growing and changing along with me. She has agency. She is, she has her own personality and her own desires, her own wants, and all of that, which is great. And I have the same thing for myself, but we're a team. We're a married couple team. And every day I feel a deeper love. It's not something that gets cold or goes away. And it is a communication cop out to me. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I get where Glenn's coming from about the like part. I think I get where he's coming from on that. I'm like you. I thought I knew what love was, and I didn't. I think it was limerence.
Yeah.
And so I did tell my ex like a week and a half before I left, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He asked me if I was still in love with him, and I told him no. I did tell him I love you as a person. I care about you, but I'm not in love with you anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever was.
Yeah.
And that's sucks to say. I think there are times I convinced myself I was. Well, I think the whole time, especially in the beginning with limerence, I just made this person out to be somebody that he wasn't. There wasn't enough time to actively or accurately assess who this person was on a deeper level. But I get that too, the whole like part that Glenn is mentioning. I don't like you anymore. Because for me, I did not like him. I was like, this person is not good.
Right.
Good for me, good for himself, good for anybody.
Right.
But yeah, I think knowing what love is comes into play. And I like what you said, because love isn't just a feeling.
Right.
It's so much deeper than that. And I think our world, unfortunately, really pushes this idea that love is this feeling. And so when you have days where it goes away, or it's not, that feeling isn't there anymore, then you know, a lot of people think, oh, I guess I just fell out of love with this person.
Yeah.
I think love is a choice. And I think it's not just a choice. I think it's a lot of things all encompassing, but it's not just a feeling.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I agree 100%. Thank you, Jen. Glenn, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's the stupidest saying of one of them as I've ever heard. I don't love you anymore. What does that mean? It's just
right.
Shooting a rocket into space and not having, we don't know where it's going. I mean,
I know.
I'm sort of thinking maybe it could have been better put as you are not the person I thought you were.
Yeah.
It's just a thought.
And I think it would have been more accurate for me to say to him, I don't like you anymore. That would have been very accurate.
Yeah. And you probably never did. You liked the person he was pretending to be for the very short time before you got married, right? The way you tell it, he was acting like he was mirroring you. So basically, you liked yourself. And when you found out he wasn't anything like you at all, and also, and to me, Jen, it wasn't just that. It wasn't just that you guys, he wasn't like you. He didn't let you be you.
No.
At all. He tried to change you into little mini him, and that's just
a robot.
No, that's
not good.
It's not working.
It seems that like some people take time to develop
Yeah.
the relationship. Take it so. Others,
Sure.
it's instantaneous. I don't think time's the issue. I think, but when you come to the point where you say I don't love you anymore, means did you really know that person in the first place? I just got my
Yeah.
doubts, to be honest.
Yeah. I
Don't
didn't.
know who they
And
are.
honestly, after
That's it.
after 14 years, I was like, I don't know this. After 14 years, I did not know this person.
Yeah.
He was a stranger to me. He never let me in.
He didn't let
So
anyone in, but yeah.
no, he didn't.
As
He
a
didn't
re-
even let himself in.
no,
He didn't know himself, you know.
Yep. All right. Marisa, you're last up tonight, and we're done. We'll say goodnight.
I would submit to you all that another meeting of when somebody would say, I don't love you anymore, is a way to say, I don't want to put any more work into this anymore.
Yeah.
For whatever the
Yeah.
reason, good, bad, indifferent, right and wrong,
Yep.
toxic, non-toxic. It can
Yep.
just be I give up.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to do this anymore. So
Yeah.
that one I understand.
Beautifully said, Nez.
Is that it? Okay. In closing, regardless of the words used, at the end of the day, if you don't admire someone, it's difficult to imagine having a constructive connection with them. The key to all this comes back to you and your willingness to be real. I love that word, willingness. And then a quote, it is difficult to tune into the wavelength of the surrounding environment if one is not projecting that which comes naturally from inside themselves. Agree with that 100%. Wayne Hadley. And what's interesting, I recognize who I am today. If I'd seen that quote 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have, it wouldn't have resonated as much with me back then. But a lot of things come from inside yourself. And that's, Christian would say, well, that's the Holy Spirit. And I don't disagree with that. But also, you have to, in order for it to be a relationship, you're part of that relationship. It's not just, people say, oh, the Holy Spirit working through me. Yeah. You're the one that's doing the actual, you have to participate. You're the one that's choosing to go along with what the Holy Spirit tells you to do. This is a whole nother topic, but we're told to diminish ourselves to the point where the person God made us sometimes is gone, and people think that's a good thing. Oh, it's just the Holy Spirit. That's it. Well, I mean, He wants a relationship with us. He obviously made us in a certain way, and He wants it to be both of us. We'll talk about that more another time. But this has been a great write-up and a great broadcast. Everyone keep in mind that Glenn will not be with us next weekend. We're going to do a game night or something. Three of us will decide what we're going to do, but we'll welcome Glenn back in 2 weeks time. And want to thank everyone who took time out of their Sunday to join us. No matter what time you came, we're glad that you're here. And thank you to everyone who's listening to the playback. We appreciate you as well. Think about joining us sometime in the chat. Some people just aren't into the chat. I get that. You listen when you can. Maybe the timing's not as good for you. Just stop and say hello sometime. We just like to know who these other 50, 60 listeners to every broadcast are. We just like to know. It's like to meet you, shake hands, a little pat on the back, and occasionally a little pick me up, right?
Absolutely.
Good night from me, and hope everyone has a good week. See you next Sunday. Jen, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples, please.
I was waiting for you to do your St. Patty's Day goodbye with your accent.
Oh, happy St. Patty's Day, don't you know? We'll see you next Sunday.
That's good. I totally forgot it was St. Patrick's Day. Not that we celebrate, but anyway, you guys, thanks for the discussion and y'all's answers and sharing in the comments section. And thank you, Glenn, for the write-up. And fellow panel members, our host, Jason, thank you. Thank you. And I hope everybody has a great week. And we'll miss Glenn next weekend, but he'll be back a week after next. And we'll just have some fun while he's gone.
Yep.
Have a great week, guys. Good night.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Hello to Face the Ace who popped in. Well, good to see you. Good night to you. But good to see your face. Face the Ace. Faces. See faces, the Ace faces. Okay. Glenn, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples, please.
My mouse doesn't want to turn on the microphone.
It happens.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, relationships are sure interesting. Actually, there's setting up a men's mental health group or something here in this community. So I'm going to one of the meetings, and
Oh, cool.
this evening, yeah, see what it's all about. But someone said to me, "Oh, this is where men sit around the fire and talk about all their issues." I thought, "Oh my goodness, that does not sound like me at all." I'm so a one-on-one person, but being an introvert. So, but as I said, in the big picture, I've got to put that out of my mind and go with an open mind. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you
All
have to
right.
let us know how it goes.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good time.
Okay, sure.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. Last but not least, let's have Marisa say goodnight to everyone and close us down if you don't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, and thank you, everybody who came tonight and participated, and even the people who just watched and lurked, and those who share the stream out on their social media. Thank you so much. I'm hearing a bit of a feedback echo, so
Yeah, that's all right.
sorry about that. Anyway, thank you so much. Everyone have a blessed rest of the day or evening, and God willing, we'll see you next Sunday, right here on True Story Live. Good night, and God bless. And thank you, Glenn. Great write-up.